Hey guys, welcome into my studio. This was supposed to be a kiln unloading video and that did not go well. I was 90% of the way through unloading my kiln this morning, recording, and my phone decided that it didn't want to record anymore. So we are trying again. This is take 3. Take 2 also didn't work. So I decided instead of standing in my garage over my open kiln that was already unloaded, I brought all the pieces into my studio. So we're gonna go through what came out of the kiln today, but you're just not gonna see me take it out of a kiln. This recent firing was started on Monday, so it fired all day Monday. It was cooling down Tuesday and it was finally ready to open this morning. I don't like opening over 100 degrees, so I waited until it was like 78 degrees before I opened it. Everything that's in this load is destined for a garden center in Goffstown, New Hampshire. That's the town next to where I live. They contacted me about a month ago and asked if I was interested in consigning some pieces with them, which is awesome. And it'll be officially the first pieces I've ever sold, if anything sells. I have given away plenty of pieces and gifted plenty of pieces, but I've never actually sold anything yet, which is the goal, obviously. It's why I have the studio at my house now and why I bought the kiln. But I haven't gotten to that point where I've been selling. So this is exciting for me. It's also nerve-wracking. They only approached me a little less than a month ago. But they wanted a collection of pieces that felt like a collection. So typically I just make whatever I'm feeling in the moment and then I glaze it all random things. And so nothing really goes together. But they wanted it to not necessarily be matchy-matchy, but to have a similar feeling throughout some of the pieces so that if somebody wanted to, say, purchase more than one thing and they wanted them to be part of a set, that it would work. So I started out with, I made 9 mugs, 3 of each type. So I have some Underglaze transfer mugs, I have some leaf mugs, and 3 that are just a fun shape with different glazes on them. So each of those 3 sets all have different glazes featured on them, and then they'll have like a couple wine glasses that I made will match those sets. I have a couple bowls that I made that can match those sets, and then I had some coasters. So a little bit of a mixy-matchy, but if people want to get a mug and a wine glass, they can find 2 that have the same glaze combinations on them. I have to have these pieces ready for them by this Friday. So I had a lot riding on this kiln. I was very nervous about how it was going to turn out. It's been kind of a crazy month. We got a new puppy this month. If you're following me on Facebook, you've seen pictures of him. He's only 4 months old and he's a giant. So he's been keeping us busy. He wants to try to eat everything. So he has to be watched all the time. He's actually right down there joining me today. Sorry, I hit my color change. So he's definitely made things more interesting trying to get work done when I'm in the studio, but he has his little puppy playpen, so he joins me when I'm down here. All right, let's get started. The first thing that I had pulled out of the kiln today was the sets of coasters. So I decided I made 8 coasters, 4 of each type. The first ones were to go with the Underglaze mugs, Underglaze transfer mugs. So each of these has a transfer on them from Sambow. And then it's just Amico Celadon glazes on top. So this one is Rainforest, and every one of these has 3 coats of the glaze covering the Underglaze transfer. If you don't go at least 3 coats with these Celadons, they tend to show all the brush strokes and they look a little streaky. So if you go 3 solid coats, you get a nice even finish on it and you don't get any of that streakiness. So that one was Rainforest. This one has Sky, 3 coats of Sky. Sky is the worst one for me for showing that streaky brush stroke. So I definitely, I go heavy. I apply my glaze with a fan brush, like a really fluffy fan brush. So it really, really picks up a lot of glaze so that when you're distributing the glaze on the clay, it leaves a lot behind. And then this one is in Marigold. I had a farm theme going with my transfers this time. And then the last one is in Wasabi. So a little bunny rabbit. And then the other set of coasters that I did, I have some mugs that have pressed leaf impressions in them. They're leaves that I got from Michael Harbridge at learnfiredarts.com. So they're like a rubber stamp leaf, but they do a really good job. They look really natural when you stamp them in clay. So these all these coasters each had a leaf stamped in. And then I colored these leaves using Mako Stroke and Coat. This is Leapin' Lizard, Sunkissed, and Ruby Slippers. And I didn't go straight on with the Stroke and Coat. It would be a little darker than I wanted, so I actually mixed it about 50-50 with water, and I painted it on like watercolor. So it allows it to have a little bit more time to mix, to blend, because if you put it on straight, the clay just absorbs all that moisture out and it dries really fast. But if you put it on with the water, it actually stays liquid just long enough so that you can have a good blend go out throughout the color. And then each of these has 2 coats of Amaco Zinc Free Clear on it, the HF9 clear. You don't have to put clear over Stroke and Coat because it will flux and it gets glossy all by itself. Sometimes some of the clears over Stroke and Coat can actually cause them to bleed beyond where you want them to be. So I wasn't worried about that in here because this is an impression, so I didn't think it would go beyond the impression. And I didn't mind if it actually bled together a little bit more because that would just increase the blending that I had going on from painting it on. So there's 4 of these all together. Each one has a different leaf imprint. Like I said, the background glaze on this is just clear. So this is B-Mix without grog, so it comes out a nice white color once it's fired. So that was that set of coasters. This kiln I fired to a medium cone 6. Had a 2-hour preheat, 5-minute hold at the top. If you saw my last 2 videos, the first time I fired the glaze kiln, it went to cone 7, which is not what I wanted. I had a lot of pieces that the glaze ran right off the pots. And then the second time I ran it, I put in a 30-degree cone offset, which helped. It didn't get quite as hot, but I still had a lot of running. This time I put in a 45-degree cone offset. So I got closer. I only had 1 cone pack ready to go because I'm an idiot. So I only had 1 in the kiln. This one was right in the middle of the kiln. So I got closer. This is the cone 7 cone. So it did start to bend. So I probably got a hot cone 6, but I only had 1 piece that stuck to a cookie. And I think that was a glaze application issue, not a too hot of a firing issue. So we will start with the leaf mugs. So each of these, like I said, has impressions from the leaves from Learn Fired Arts. And I did the same technique on these leaves as I did on the coasters. So it's Mako Stroke and Coat, mixed 50-50 with water, and then painted on just like you'd paint watercolor on a canvas. This one is mainly Leapin' Lizard. I did have some Sunkissed mixed in there just to give a little variation. And then let me turn my light down slightly. The glaze that's on the rest of the mug is Amaco's Honey Flux. I wanted something that had a little bit of a break, so it breaks tan where it gets lighter, where it's thinner, and then it has a nice creamy white color everywhere else. So Honey Flux is a runner if you put it with other glazes, but by itself it's fairly stable. Like, it didn't run over the piece at all. I had some issues glazing these. After I glazed the leaves themselves, I had to go back in with a tiny little brush to glaze into these areas. I didn't want to apply wax over the Stroke and Coat, which is how you would normally avoid getting glaze in an area, because sometimes wax, when it's fired over another glaze, it leaves a weird texture behind, and I didn't want to ruin the texture on these. So this one is Ruby Slippers and Sunkissed in the leaf, and then the glaze on the rest of the mug is Amaco's Lustrous Jade. I always put 3 coats of Amaco glazes on, so if you have a question about that, if I say it's an Amaco glaze, it's always 3 coats. If it's a Mako glaze, it's almost always 2 coats. I'll let you know if it's any different, but that's typically how I apply these. Makos tend to go on where you don't need 3 coats, but Amaco usually does. And then the last one of this set is Marigold Celadon. So again, heavy coats on this one to make sure that you didn't get streakiness. And then mainly just the Leapin' Lizard with a little bit of Sunkissed mixed in on the leaves. So I figure these ones are very spring, summery type mugs. We're getting close to having spring here. It's trying to spring here. It's like 68 today, hopefully, but we've had some rain, lots of rain recently, and just not great warm weather yet. So the next mugs that I had pulled out were the Underglaze transfer mugs. This first one has Mako's sandstone with frosted lemon over the top. So we had one of these in the last kiln firing. That frosted lemon gets really pretty purple variation where it mixes with the crystals in the sandstone, and it's gorgeous. Every time you fire it, sometimes it gets spots where it's just like little flecks of purple, and sometimes you get like the big long runs. So I thought that was really pretty, and I wanted to try it again. This is again the zinc free clear over the Underglaze transfer. I only ever do 2 coats over my transfer of the clear, because if you go 3, sometimes it can get a little cloudy. These transfers are all from Sambow. They have really nice transfers. I also use Elon transfers sometimes, but these ones are Sambow's. So there's just some roosters and chickens on the mug, and then on the bottom is a little leaf. It's upside down. There you go. So that one came out very nice. And then I had, this one is Winter Wood with Midnight Rain over the top. And I love, Winter Wood does some really cool things with glazes. Like, it's very glossy up here, nice gloss finish. And here it's a more satin finish, where there's some of that crystal action happened. So, but it just always makes like the coolest colors, the coolest patterns of running and glazing with the glazes. Again, there's some farm theme going on here with some ducks and geese and rooster. And I have another leaf on the bottom, or a feather on the bottom. Got leaves on the brain. And then my last one of the Underglaze transfer mugs is the good old cobalt and seaweed mixture. I love this glaze combination because it's always the same every time you do it. I've never had it come out in some weird, unexpected way. It's very stable. It does exactly what you want it to do. It moves about yay much when I put it on a piece. So I make sure when I apply the cobalt, it came to here. The seaweed came up to about here, because I know it's going to move that little bit. So I just give it space to move. So this one was one of the bee mugs. I've made these before. My sister and my brother-in-law keep bees and make honey. So I've made them bee mugs before. These ones have. So this piece is from Elon transfers, but the bees themselves are from Sambow. So very happy with how that turned out. And to go along with that glaze combination set, I did a bowl, kind of like a salad size bowl, with that cobalt and seaweed. So you can see, if you don't go heavy enough with your cobalt where it's going to be just the cobalt showing, you can get some streaking. So I typically do, it's 3 coats, but it's heavy coats down here where I knew the seaweed wasn't going to cover. But you can see it, the cobalt itself doesn't move, so I don't worry about putting 3.5, we'll say, coats here. It's not going to run. And then the seaweed, the seaweed moved again about, half an inch, but I made sure that where I applied it, I was okay with how far it was going to move. So that one, if somebody wanted a mug and a bowl, you could have a matching set there. And then the other bowl that I did in that shape and size was the frosted lemon over sandstone. So that one, I think this looks like the moon on the inside, which it's just awesome. It was not what I intended. I kind of figured the frosted lemon would run all the way to the middle, and it didn't. So it left this area where it's just sandstone, and just the crystals, how they developed in there, I just think it looks like the moon, which is kind of amazing. But it ran down pretty far on the outside. I had applied this probably no more than halfway down. So it does have some movement. So if you're going to use this one, just be careful. I had a foot on here, so I wasn't really worried about it running off the foot. And honestly, it didn't move beyond the foot at all. So I was really happy with how that one came out. Just the color variation with frosted lemon over sandstone is beautiful. And then the last 3 mugs I had done were all a similar shape. So they all have this little bumpy, I don't know what you would call this, kind of an hourglass shape, I guess. This one is a glaze combination that the last time I did it ran like crazy. Like, this was the worst piece ever in the last kiln. It took me forever to get it off the cookie. So this is Winter Wood which Mako's Winter Wood with Amico's lustrous jade over the top. So it's 3 coats of lustrous jade over the Winter Wood. And the last time I did it, it was like right off the piece. But it's so pretty. Like, I need to find a way to make this so that I can keep it on the piece, which it was successful here. It stayed on. I mean, it came right down to the bottom, but it didn't come off of this piece. But I had it on a wine glass too, and the wine glass came off. So the only casualty of this kiln load was that wine glass, which I'll show you in a minute. But so took the lustrous jade all the way down on the inside. I love how this color develops over the winter wood. It's so pretty. So I have that one. This is Honey Flux with Chun Plum over the top. So I've used Honey Flux in the past, and when you put colors over Honey Flux, they tend to run a lot. So I was very conservative with how far I came down with the Chun Plum. I had seen on Facebook some people talking about how the Honey Flux has changed recently. It still comes out that same color, but it's not, like, the running characteristics are a little bit different. So Honey Flux by itself, as we saw here, it doesn't move if it's by itself. So that was 3 coats of Honey Flux, and it was 3 coats of Honey Flux down here. So that didn't actually move at all. That's exactly where I had put it, but it does tend to make whatever glaze you put over it run like crazy. So I'm extremely happy with how this turned out. I was anticipating it coming down to here. I like it like this. I think that it came out very, very nice. God, it's hard to see the spot under here is like beautiful. So yeah, so again, this is Chun Plum over Honey Flux. I also really like Seaweed over Honey Flux, comes out really pretty. Blue Rutile over Honey Flux comes out really pretty. And then the last one I have of this shape is a combination that someone had shared on one of my clay groups. So this is Winter Wood up to about here. And then it was Norse Blue without overlap down to meet the Winter Wood. The inside is Norse Blue. And then there was a band of Blue Surf that overlapped the Norse Blue. And then a little bit of Light Flux in areas around the top. So it looks very beachy. It looks like waves crashing on the shore, which I just think is beautiful. It came out exactly how I wanted it to. Very, very happy with this combination. I had never done this one before. So definitely going to do that one again. It came out very pretty. And so I had a couple bowls of a different shape to go with these mugs. So again, this is the same glaze combination that we had here. So Winter Wood with Norse Blue, and then Blue Surf overlapping the Norse Blue with some flux around the rim. And then I did the same on the inside. Just, it reminds me of the beach. I love it. So pretty. And then I did another of the Winter Wood with Lustrous Jade, which again, I got really lucky on this one. It did not run past the foot. I don't know what it is about that wine glass, but so I definitely kept the Lustrous Jade very high, and I apply it in a wave pattern just to, I don't like that straight line of glaze where they mix. I like it to be a little bit more fluid, but it does make, if you do a wave pattern, it's going to make it run at the bottom of the wave. So I got lucky here. It ran down to there, but it didn't go off the piece, and it didn't even run all the way into the middle. So I think the cooler temperature in the kiln helped. The way I applied the glaze definitely helped. Apparently I just went too far down when I did that wine glass, which I can show you. So it didn't run off a lot. It's barely touching here, and it has one spot over here that it ran off a little. I actually had somebody ask me to show how I get the cookies off. These are kiln washed. I bet you I could break this one off right now, but I worry that it's going to take a little bit of the clay from the piece. So I don't care if the cookie breaks. I can make more cookies, but I don't want the piece to break. So I have a Dremel with a diamond grinding disc that I use to actually cut through where that glaze meets the cookie. And then I use diamond core sanding pads to grind it smooth. So if it's really, really stuck, like the piece that I had, it was a mug last time with this glaze combination that ran down and it was like all the way around stuck on. That piece had to stay in my collection. It's actually, my mom has it, because when I was taking it off, like, there's no way to take it off really cleanly if it's all the way around. And so I ended up having like a couple little spots where the blade, like the disc, ground into the bottom of the mug. And so I'm like, I'm not selling that. So if you're careful, you can take them off and it doesn't damage the piece at all. If it's stuck too bad, that one might not be worth saving. But so the rest of these wine glasses that I did are copies of glazes that I've used on the mugs. So this is that same beachy feel on a wine glass. So if somebody wanted a mug and a wine glass, they could have a matching set. Or if they wanted a wine glass and an ice cream bowl, like, come on now, it's a good night. So I wanted to not have everything be matchy-matchy. I like things to be unique, but I did want to be able to have that feeling of if somebody wanted to buy more than one piece, they could find things that did look like they were part of a set. So I have a cobalt and seaweed wine cup. Again, like, this is just the best combination if you're looking for something that always turns out beautiful and you don't have to worry about it running off your piece and sticking to your cookies. I do recommend using cookies if you're using glazes that are runny. Like, everything that's in here was on a cookie when I fired it, because I would rather have to take it off of this and maybe lose a cookie than have to grind it off my kiln shelves. So here is the frosted lemon over sandstone. And then on the inside, it's just frosted lemon. And then this is one of the, I love this, the honey flux and chun plum from Amico. So this one is just, I love this section. It looks like mountains through mist. I don't know. I like it. And then this is the only one, this one doesn't have something that matches it. I'm not sure what I was thinking when I was glazing, but it came out really pretty. This is just straight up Midnight Rain from Mako. So 2 coats of Midnight Rain. This does move a lot. This kissed its cookie, so it's a little sharp, so I'm gonna have to sand that down, which is fine. I sand all my bottoms anyway before I send them out, just to make sure they're nice and smooth so they don't scratch a table. And then I had also made a vase. So the vase is sandstone with blue surf over the top. And then on the very inside, down in there, is just Amico's zinc-free clear. But yeah, this one came out great. I don't make a lot of vases. There's a reason to that. I just don't usually do them. But yeah, this one came out really pretty. I'll have to make some more. If it sells, I'll have to make some more for them, because it's just a really pretty vessel to let glaze run on. That one had some really good crystal formations on it too. The only other piece I had in this kiln was not actually meant to be part of this set, but I might send it in anyway because it's really pretty. It came out really good. It's also the only piece that has a different company's glaze on it. So this is a tray that I did, a little platter. It has the darker blue that you're seeing in here is Speedball Underglaze in royal blue that I had to water down like crazy to put it on. This first time I'd used Speedball's Underglazes. They are thick, like really thick. So I started to put it on straight and I was like, nope. So that one it went on with a lot of water. And then it still took me forever to wipe it back. So this was a lace that I rolled out. I rolled out a slab, rolled the lace into it, cut the form. This is a GR Pottery form. And then I just added a foot on the bottom. And then over the top of the underglaze is Amico Sky. So you can see on the back how this is the color of just sky by itself. But then when you put it over a royal blue underglaze, you get a nice color variation that really highlights. I don't know if you can see it. You can see all of the little pieces of the lace come out really, really nice when you do it that way. So I might send that one in too with the whole set because it turned out really pretty. So that was what came out of this kiln. I didn't pack it full. I needed to get these pieces done. I have to finish all the bottoms and then get them over to the garden center on Friday. Somebody did ask me, I don't know if I mentioned, somebody asked me to do a video about how I get my pieces off. So if my phone agrees to work with me for the rest of the day, I can try to do a video later of how I grind these off and then how I sand the bottom smooth afterwards to finish them. I always use, when you're grinding, I always grind outside because it creates a lot of dust. My Dremel is really loud. It's an older one, so I have hearing protection, I have eye protection. I wear a respirator just to avoid any of the dust that comes up, and I always have my gloves on because the glaze pieces can get really sharp, so protect your hands if you're gonna do that. So I hope you guys enjoyed what you got to see. If you live in Southern New Hampshire and you're interested in any of the pieces, Green Thumb Landscape and Garden Center in Goffstown, they'll be there on Friday. but I think their spring relaunch is going to be at the end of the month. So if you're looking to pick up some pottery, you can go check it out there. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will see you next time.